Hey y'all, it's Austin. We do talk about sexual assault in this episode, which I know can be distressing and or triggering. I do not go into a ton of details, but if you or someone you know need resources or support, go to rain.org. That's RAINN.org. Or you can call their 24/7 hotline at 1-800-656-4673. Please take care of yourself and enjoy this episode. What drives you? What inspires you? Let's ignite your why. We're back. What's going on, everybody? And welcome back to Ignite Your Why podcast. I'm your host, Austin T. Gullett, and we're here to have genuine conversations with authentic people to help amplify their voice and figure out what ignites their why. Today's episode is going to be a lot different than every episode you hear in the future. Today is going to be my story. We're going to kick off season 5, Where Are They Now series with my story. Yes, me. No, I'm just kidding. But before we get into my story, I just really wanted to thank everyone for constantly supporting this podcast, whether that's listening, sharing, subscribing, following, whatever that may be. It does not go unnoticed and it's truly appreciated. Season 5, Where Are They Now series is very unique. We're bringing back 14 amazing guests that have recently been on this podcast, more so in seasons 1 and 2. But we're just getting an update on their life. What are they doing now? Where are they now? Are they still doing what they were doing before, or are they doing something completely different? Who knows? But we'll find out. And I cannot wait for you guys to tune in. But let's just hop straight into this, man. If you're new to this podcast, like I said, my name is Austin T. Gullett. If you're returning, welcome. I appreciate you. But yeah, so I was born and raised in Covington, Kentucky. I'm a Covington boy through and through. I love Covington, love everything about Covington, and it's just so much. It's such a beautiful city. When I go out of town, and I tell people I'm from Covington, I eventually just tell them I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio, because we're literally right across the bridge. Most people know where Cincinnati is, but if you say Covington, Kentucky, they just assume I have horses and I live on a farm, and that is not the case, not at all. Growing up, I was very fortunate to have both of my family, both of my parents. My parents mean the absolute world to me, and I love them to death. But if you want to hear more of my backstory, go ahead and click the link that's in the description below. It will be a link to my story, my very first episode that I released in January of 2021. So make sure you check that out and you can get an update on my life. So we're going to fast forward. So, oh man, where do I even begin? When I first started this podcast, I had no idea what I was doing, where I wanted it to go. But all I knew is I wanted to give people a platform to share their story and really just give people a piece of them, because I'm a firm believer that all it takes is one person to hear your story. And if we inspire and can influence and have some kind of impact on one person, then we did our job, right? Because you never know what someone else is going through and you never know if someone can relate to you. So that's kind of what this platform is for. Over the last 6 months since we last spoken with each other, that's when the season finale of season 4 happened, was September 15th to be exact. My life has been a roller coaster. Man, I never would have imagined taking a 6-month hiatus from doing this, just because I love it so much and it brings me so much joy. But it honestly got to a point where I wasn't happy. I wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't enjoying the things I was doing before. I was just in a very, very, very deep, dark place. It was just very interesting, I should say. It was hard. It wasn't easy. I'm still trying to figure out life. But I really just was taking the time to focus on myself, dealing with past traumas, and just really being the best version of myself. Um, if we really want to get into all the nitty gritties, you guys know I'm a huge mental health advocate, right? Sorry. I love advocating for mental health. It's a topic that needs to be talked about, a topic that needs to be shared. Um, but it's also sometimes I feel hypocritical, if that makes sense. So it's like I advocate for this and I push for this, but I make myself seem that like I'm living this perfect lifestyle, like everything in my life is sunshine and rainbows. But in reality, like behind closed doors, it's been a freaking struggle, man. A struggle. I think just dealing with childhood trauma, just what I say by childhood trauma is just it's just when I was younger, I was always being yelled at by like my coaches, specifically one that I'm not going to name. But I vividly remember he would always yell at me, no matter if I was doing something right or doing something wrong. Right? I could have 25 points and 6 assists or whatever it may be, but I would still be getting yelled at. And it got to a point where my dad eventually went up to this coach and was like, "Yo, man, like, why are you always yelling at my son?" And he was like, "Because he has potential. And when you yell at him, he works harder." And it kind of has trained my brain to think that like I have to be the best. And even if I'm doing good, it's not good enough because I was always being yelled at, right? And it really has like forced my not like forced, but like it has trained me to think that I have to be the best at everything that I do. So I set myself to very high expectations. Sometimes expectations that aren't really obtainable and I beat myself up because of it. So it's like those little things that people don't necessarily realize that like happen when you're a child that like go into your adult life, which is very weird. So it's like one of those things I continue to struggle with. I feel like it's going to be a while before I can truly heal from that situation, right? Because I played sports my whole life. So from age 5 or 4 all the way up until I was 18, I was playing sports competitively. And I've always had that drive and that ambition to be the best on the field or on the court. Like, I don't care who you are, like, I'm going to outplay you, I'm going to outwork you. You might have more skill than me, but you won't outwork me, period. Like, that's just, like, how I live. Like, I want to be the best. Like, I hate to lose. Like, I really hate to lose. Like, I remember as a kid, like, I would probably flip a board game because I was losing. Mom, dad, Aaron, you can attest to that. But it's just one of those things that has kind of stuck with me into my adult life. And just dealing with that, like it's one of those things that me and my therapist have been working on. But over the last 8 months, my life has just been kind of in a real big funk. Let's just say that. I've removed myself from a very toxic environment that I was in. And now, like, ever since I've removed myself from that situation, I feel like a weight kind of lifted off my shoulder, but I know that there's more healing that needs to happen. Right. So, like, I've recently moved. I'm in a new place. This is my den. I'm just trying to figure out who I am. Not only have I recently moved, but I recently just started an intern position at my job, serving as an assistant athletic director at a local high school. On top of doing my real job, which is the athletics coordinator at a nonprofit here in Cincinnati. So I kind of like been keeping myself busy, and I've realized that like that's one of my coping mechanisms, which is honestly not healthy, is I would keep myself busy to avoid my situations, to avoid my problems, to avoid my feelings. And I've realized I've done it for so long because like in high school, like I was a 4 sport athlete. When I got to college, I like worked and I coached and I was doing all of these different things. And you probably just heard my dog bark, but it's fine. But it's just been a constant thing where I would keep myself busy so I didn't have to address whatever I was going through. And like I look back on life and I'm like, damn, like I really did that. So like even when I graduated college, I went to Xavier, straight to Xavier, right? Straight to grad school. And during grad school, I was taking 12 hours. I was working 30 to 40 hours a week on top of having an internship, right? So you can imagine, like, I'm working like maybe 60, 65 hours every week on top of being a student. So, like, I never had the time to do anything, right? But it kept me busy. It kept my mind busy and it kept me kind of, I would say, sane, but it really was just me avoiding whatever I was going through, which isn't healthy at all. And I've realized that, and I'm trying to not do that again. But I was like, these last 7 months, I realized I was doing the same thing, right? I'm working, I'm the interim AD, I'm coaching soccer, I'm running social media for my podcast page, I'm running social media for my soccer page, I'm running social media for the high school I'm being an AD for. So, like, I'm doing all of these things, and I'm just like, yo, bro, like, settle down, like, take a break, right? And it was hard because I didn't want to deal with whatever I was dealing with. So it's just been a crazy, crazy, crazy year and a half. And I think back to January of 2022. So literally like a year ago when I made another episode giving you guys an update on my life. And I just always felt that, like, I wasn't genuine and I wasn't honest with you guys. I felt I was being unauthentic, I guess you could say. But I feel like that was only because I was dealing with a lot at that time as well. And I didn't know how to really speak on it and how to address it. So it's still hard to talk about now, but I'm to a point where I'm not letting this situation kind of define me, or I don't think I'm not going to let people, like, look at me differently just because of something that, like, I had no control over. um, Back in May of 2021, I'm trying not to cry here. Back in May of 2021, I was a victim of sexual assault, and it was, and still is, something very hard for me to deal with, just because it was someone I trusted, someone I thought was my friend. Um, and it's just really had a ripple effect on my personal life. Um, we're not gonna cry, but it's just been hard for me because it um, gave me a lot of anxiety. Just being around people, being in big crowds, like, I didn't want to go anywhere. I wanted to be by myself. I didn't really have trust to do certain things. Um, so it's just been a struggle, um, dealing with that. And I feel like I never really got to heal from it. I'm still healing from it. Something that just doesn't happen overnight. But I'm strong and I'm gonna get through it. So I guess, like, it's out there now and I can't take it back. But I think that's just one thing that has really had a lot of weight on me, and just something that, like, I've really been struggling with. And I just wanted to be open and honest with all of you guys because that's what this podcast is. I feel like it's just being authentic and being real and telling your story. And that is a part of my story. And I'm at a point now in my life where it's been a year and a half, and, like, yes, it still affects me and it still bothers me, like, so freaking much. But I'm not ashamed to, like, admit that it happened. So let's get away from this like deep shit. But anyways, my life has just been a roller coaster, and I think I'm at this point now in my life where I truly am on a journey of healing, and I'm happy to be on that road. I feel a lot happier now. I feel excited to be back recording my podcast. I feel excited to be giving you guys content, and I'm learning how to manage my time a lot better so I'm not overdoing myself, right? So I'm hanging out with friends, and I'm going out to eat with them and just doing things that I truly enjoy, whether that's going to an FC Cincinnati game, going to a Xavier game, going at the time, like, going to Javier's basketball games, and just being a good role model for him and being the mentor that he deserves. So it's been fun. I will say that I've had some fun moments in my dark times, and I think that's what's really helped get me through is my family, my friends, and all of my loved ones. So shout out to them. My parents are my rock. My brother, Javier, the kid I mentor, Devon, Marcus, Sydney, Aaliyah. I'm probably going to miss some people. So Aaron Lucan, like, don't get offended if I didn't mention your names. But you know who you are. And I genuinely appreciate you guys. And I love you guys to death. Um, Speaking of like my family and my brother, like my brother had a stroke back in November of 2022, which was super scary, especially when he's only 29 and you're wondering like how the hell does this happen. But I will say, like, despite it being a very scary moment for my family, he's doing fine, and you guys will get to hear his story later this season. So I'm excited for him to hop back on here and share a piece of him. But I think the one thing I took from that is like to cherish the moments you have with people, right? Because you never know what can happen and you never know what's going on in someone else's life or anything like that. So just cherish every moment you have. And I think the one thing I gained from all of that, just not only that, but I have gained a better relationship with my brother. We're closer, we talk more, we hang out more, and I get to see him more. And I really enjoy that. Like, I love my brother to death. And growing up, like, we were never the closest. We would fight all the time and argue and whatnot, but that's my brother, and I love that. I love that man to death. But it's just been a roller coaster these last 8 months, y'all. But I made it through. We're back, and we're not looking back. We are going to have amazing content from here on out, and I'm so excited for it. Um, but yeah, like I feel like that's really like the gist of everything. I know this is probably like super short than every other episode that's going to happen in the future, but I feel like that's honestly because there's no one else that's talking with me. So it's really just me. I don't like to talk. So there's that. I host a podcast, but I don't like to talk. What are the odds? But I do appreciate you guys. You guys truly are my rock, and you guys keep me going, and I appreciate all the support. So I think I'm gonna wrap things up here. So thank you guys for listening in. Make sure you give us a follow on all social media. You can find us at Ignite Your Why. You can now find us on YouTube as well. So make sure you subscribe, like, share, whatever you want to do. I don't know the YouTube lingo at this time. But again, thank you all for listening in. Always remember, find your purpose, ignite your why, and I'll holler at you guys later. Peace.